Excited to get started. As Sid had mentioned, this is our last meetup of the year. And can you believe that we've actually done uh, this since the beginning of this year? We really started at the beginning of January. And I think we hit every month, right, Sid? Or was it? There was one month we skipped. I think,
September. Yeah.
yeah, in September. We had a fun team outing that we had done. So we had skipped September, but otherwise, yeah, 11 other meetups that we've done. Super excited to continue to carry this tradition into next year, bring you all onto the call, and again, have a very casual conversation about things that we are up to over here in the Mighty Land and fun features that we're delivering and either recently delivered or working on for you and giving you a little sneak peek into that side of things. So yeah, very excited. Really appreciate all that shared in our Maestro community about all the features that you're looking forward to seeing next year. We've got some fun things happening inside of our internal team and some fun little challenges happening in regards to creating some of these interactives that a lot of you had mentioned. And so I'll even kind of showcase off one that you'll actually see either later this week or next week that our team has developed. So cool, fun things that are happening over here on this side. And we're gonna go ahead and just kind of dive in. First, I wanted to talk about um, the community challenges that we've done. We've finished our first one. I think that was what, a couple weeks ago, Sid, and then kind of did our party wrap up last week.
hmm
That was. And so, for those of you who are not familiar with our MC challenges that we've got going on, I'm going to slide over here to the Maestro community. And in this bar on the left-hand side, you'll see all the various spaces. We've got the MC challenges space. And you'll see we've got our first challenge that we had done. If you're curious about some submissions, feel free to open up this post here. We'll just continue to do these probably every other month or so, it sounds like. And it'll be anything from Rise to other tools or workflows that you've got. So Sid and Amy are kind of the masterminds behind the MC challenges. So super excited to roll that out as well this year. And then if you want to see in the announcements channel, there's a really cool post that talks about some winners and some runners up. And in here, there's like a lot of fun links. And you can also see just like a breakdown of how our winner went through and like broke down how they built the course and different mighty features that they had leveraged. So this is another really great place for you guys to be able to take advantage of inspiration on how to leverage Mighty inside of your Rise courses. So super fun. Anything else to add there, Sid?
Um, we in future ones we're probably trying to have the winners come on and maybe talk about their project too. But Mish is based in Australia and I think it's like 4 a.m. her time. So look out for that. We'll try and make that work when it's possible.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds good. Cool. So for all of you who had joined our Mighty Meetup last month, which um, was only a couple weeks ago because we have this one adjusted forward, we walked through a lot of new features that are coming at the beginning of 2026. Things in regards to interactive HTML updates. Talked about this idea of global styles and being able to just like really uh, uh, get all of your styles more consistent across your Rise course, as well as just some like other fun things that are happening. So if you haven't checked out November's meetup, certainly go and watch that video. In today's meetup, what I wanted to do is just give a little bit more examples of the interactive block updates that are coming, as well as talk about this idea of a Mighty Interactive SDK and why that's valuable to you and how you're going to be able to leverage that here in the near future. In probably January's meetup, we're going to really walk through a lot of the documentation, some examples, and even probably even live code some of that with AI. So that way you guys can start to get a feel for if you're already leveraging AI and building some of the interactives, how you could easily take in some of our documentation to be able to build those interactives for you. So look forward to that. But just at a high level, really want to just kind of walk through some of these examples today, just so you can get a better feel for what we're talking about in regards to some fun interactives. So these are interactives that one of our designers had made just very quickly with vibe coding. and how then you can take advantage of some of the new things that are coming with our interactive SDK and being able to then customize these interactives. Now, for those of you who are not necessarily familiar with Mighty, just to give you a high level, we've got new blocks that we introduce into Mighty, and one of them is this interactive HTML block. So that's introduced into Rise. And once you drop in the interactive HTML block, basically there's a couple of options that you can go about. And you may be seeing this is a little bit new design. This will be released here in our next release, which should be released any minute, any day here, waiting on Google Chrome. But this basically allows you to do two things: either drop in a zip file, and the zip file can contain all of your things needed to build up your isolated interactive inside of your course, or you can also write up some HTML, JavaScript, or CSS and gives you full access to be able to do that. So that's kind of this interactive HTML block. Articulate now has a new version of that that they've called their code block. So there's kind of these two options now to be able to upload a zip of code and then be able to leverage that in your course. But with our interactive HTML block, the fun thing that we are introducing is not only are you uploading code, but based on the code that you upload, there's a configuration file that you'll be able to create here very soon that will allow you to create these dynamic forms. And so what you'd be able to do with these dynamic forms is be able to update some of this content in here. So if I were to just go ahead and update this to be my name, you're going to see that it's kind of refreshing here in the background. And what that would do is it would update here my information actually into that interactive HTML block as well. So what's super powerful about this is that what you guys could do, either yourself or team members on your team who are building these interactives, is that you can build these interactives that are now reusable and deliver them to other team members on your team who don't have the capabilities to get into the technical side. Either they don't have access to some of the AI tools, or they're just not really comfortable with AI and not comfortable with looking at some of that HTML. And really, all you'd have to do is deliver them a zip file. They upload that zip file and then have full access to these forms. So another example of that is actually on your guys' wish list, the ability to do kind of like a sortable experience with images into different categories. And so being able to drag and drop these different images into our different areas. And in fact, I'm going to get some wrong just so you can kind of see what that state looks like. You can hit check answers. It'll tell you some are wrong, and you can drag over the idea of, your vegetable image over to the vegetable category, check your answer, you get it right, and you're good to go. So this is like a cool sortable experience, but you're maybe like, okay, well, I built a zip, and in order for anyone to get new images in there or these categories and decide like what goes where, there's a lot of code to deal with, and that's going to be too difficult for my team. So really what you'd be able to do is, again, with our interactive SDK as well as with some form configs, and again, I'll show you this in our next meetup that we've got, but all you would do is drop in your zip file. It would build out all of your forms for you. And then in here, you can create new categories. So we can create like a fourth category of uh, something. Let me think. Drinks maybe would be another good category. And then what that will do is you can see right here, it immediately adds in this fourth category for us. So it's really, really easy to just plug and play any of this new information into really any interactive that you've got. And so we've been doing a lot of testing with some of our documentation on how you could plug that in with AI. Either you've got local tools like Cursor or VS Code, or you're using something like a Chat GPT or Claude and be able to plug in our docs, give it the prompts, and it would immediately spit out everything that you would need in order for it to build all this. So we're really going to try to make sure that this is as seamless as possible for you guys to go in your current flow of vibe coding these interactives to drop in some documentation that's now immediately leverageable with our interactive HTML block. So this is going to be huge for a lot of you to be able to take existing interactive libraries that you've been creating and maintaining here on your teams to then be able to start to distribute that more freely amongst your team members who are non-technical to be able to take advantage of those. So very, very fun. Super excited to see a lot of you guys take advantage of this. And I really kind of wanted to open up some questions maybe that some of you got. I'm just kind of scrolling through some of the chat here. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing that is kind of being asked in pockets here is like, like what does SDK stand for? And will we have tutorials on how to do this? And yes, like
Yeah,
we will make sure to have the right content to help you guys walk through this and be able to do it. I know Pinkster will walk through it probably in a Mighty Meetup.
yeah,
Nate, who's been on a lot of videos in Mighty Users, is also going to walk through this. So you'll have a variety of people walk through it in different ways so that you can start to get familiar with the language. But we're making it as simple as possible for you guys. So you might not need to know all that language either.
yeah. And the idea of the SDK, which yeah, I appreciate Bannigan throwing that out there. That's really just more of the communication vehicle. So that software development kit is how our Mighty Interactives that we're building and deploying through Rise would be able to communicate back and forth with your interactive that you've made. So as you are probably familiar, if you've built any of these interactives before and you wanted to be able to have completion information, the old way of doing things would be to leverage this window.parent.post message, and it's very technical. But instead, what you'd be able to do is you'd be able to just say Mighty Interactive SDK dot mark as complete. And that's really all you'd have to do. You don't have to worry about under the hood how all the functionality works. And again, all that would be in the documentation, and even better, documentation that the AI will be able to leverage and just know exactly what to do and how to take advantage of that. So the SDK is really, think about it more as like a vehicle between what you've built here as an interactive and reaching up into the Rise course and being able to have some of that communication back and forth between the two. So really is kind of that process. Again, as Sydney had mentioned, we'll have YouTube videos that really walk through so you can kind of go at your pace on how to build a interactive using this, as well as we'll do some live sessions to be able to really answer a lot of your questions that maybe you've got. And as many of you know who join Maestro Community, if you just ping me in a thread, usually I, within minutes, am responding to you to get back some information based on any question that you've got, really. So happy to jump in and kind of demystify a lot of how this works. And again, our objective is to get this out really at the beginning of this next year. And in fact, you may start to see some interactives flow into our code catalog in order to start to take advantage of these. Back to, I think it was Ryan, you had a question in regards to responsiveness and accessibility with the interactives. So when you guys are building out these interactives, a lot of the control is really up to you on how far you take responsive and accessibility. And what we will provide with our documentation as you're vibe coding these things out is information about keeping things accessible, making sure that they're responsive from desktop all the way down to phone. But AI is going to do the best it can with the information that is provided. And there's going to be a lot of time kind of back and forth as you're massaging out the interactives that you're making. So really, a lot of that is on you guys in order for you to be able to make sure that they're accessible, especially being able to use your keyboard shortcuts and tabbing in and out. The way that the interactives are built and the way that they're integrated into the Rise course is fully accessible. So there won't be any tab traps, or tabs aren't like keyboard shortcuts are all accessible. I was going to say not inaccessible, but I'll just say are all accessible. You can fully take advantage of those. Um, and I've got like a little accordion here where you're able to use. So right now I'm just using my tab and my space bar to be able to open and close some of these different sections. So just as an example, it's just like really how you build out your interactives in order to get access to that. Our team is going to start to really build out a lot of these interactives for you and really kind of make those available via code catalog slash another library system that will roll out next year. But you guys being able to take advantage of this earlier before that system's available, and if you've got internal interactives that you're leveraging, being able to start to take advantage of this system and be aware of how the system works is really going to help accelerate a lot of your course development. So, anything else that anyone's got questions on in regards to kind of where we're going directionally with some of the interactive blocks? I guess one other thing to mention is in regards to that SDK, things that you'll be able to do in there that I've kind of mentioned here and there and throughout the Maestro community is being able to take advantage of, mark as complete, like I'd shown. Also being able to report SCORM results. So if you want to report XAPI results, or if you want to report to SCORM 2004, you actually could be able to take advantage of our SDK for that as well. So you'd be able to just call in our SDK, report XAPI statement, and then you could build out an XAPI statement that would get elevated all the way up and reported in your course as well. So you could certainly start to take advantage of more XAPI statements, more SCORM runtime interactions throughout the SDK, as well as some of the global styles that I had mentioned, where you're going to be able to really go through and create holistic styles and all of your different typography that you've got access to inside of your Rise course. All of that would also be accessible in your interactive as well. So all of your font definitions and everything should also be right there readily available for you. So you don't have to actually within your interactive reattach fonts that you wouldn't normally have access to. It would all just be right there. You'd still be able to define those and you would have access, which would be great. So really just kind of expedites a lot of your process. Would also be able to allow you to take advantage of just your general styling throughout your Rise course immediately in these isolated interactives, which would normally feel like they're boxed in and different than your Rise course. But now because of that interactive SDK, you would have full access to all of those pieces. So
Pinkster America had a question about interactives and what happens when you don't have Mighty later, if you'd be able to add them or not.
um yeah, so the way that the builder is going to exist over here, you would still need your Mighty subscription to be able to go ahead and update like all of the data under the hood to drive those if you need to like carry this forward. But also a lot of the pieces of how the Mighty interactive works with the SDK, like all of that would continue to need your Mighty subscription because again, the Mighty subscription basically works uh and once your subscription ends, the Mighty functionality really all just kind of goes into like a read-only mode. So you could see it here while authoring, but then as soon as you open up a lot of these panels, you would just see a decision of you need either resubscribe or decide if you want to remove out some of the Mighty functionality. So hopefully that doesn't end up being a case of not needing Mighty, just because I know there's a lot of fun functionality that you'll want to take advantage of. But yes, if you have to stop using Mighty for whatever reason, or if you're handing off content to a client and the client doesn't have the Mighty subscription, they're going to want to get access to it. And basically, our big plan for 2026 is to continue to add a lot more of this interactivity that would be available to you as well as to your clients inside of that library. So there's just going to be a ton of advantages to having that subscription. If you wanted to be able to really just take advantage of the interactives that we are providing or building, but then leverage the code block, I'm just trying to think of like ways that you could take advantage of that still. You can just open up the HTML and modify some of the code that's in the HTML, and then certainly just take that same zip and upload it into the code block to be able to take advantage there. But all of the in-app editing would go away. You wouldn't be able to do any of that within the code block itself. All that's really just more within our Mighty Interactive HTML block.
Got it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Um, yeah, for the pricing and licensing, all of that can be found on our plans page. So you'll find that here. Let's say you've got a team plan of 5, it would be like 1,430 a year. There's great savings for the annual plan versus the monthly plan. And then we also do just have a 30-day trial that I would always encourage everyone to start with. Make sure that it works for you and for your team and what you're looking to take advantage of. But yep, right on our marketing site slash this plans page here, you can get full access to kind of figure out exactly what your pricing looks like. And we also have availability to pay via a invoice or also via credit card. So if you need to pay via invoice, which I know a lot of larger organizations need to go down that path, feel free to reach out to our team and we can certainly help there. What else we got? Oh yeah, about switching from a monthly plan to an annual plan. That gets a little bit tricky. Feel free to reach out to me if you need to switch from a monthly plan to an annual plan. We can also certainly prorate those. So if you're in the middle of the month and you want to upgrade to the annual plan, we actually also, I think, still have a 20% discount right now happening with a Mighty Wrapped coupon code. Sid's going to drop that coupon code, I'm sure, here. But yeah, just feel free to reach out to our team. I can certainly help go through the process of upgrading your plan from a monthly to an annual plan. And you can also, right through our portal page, be able to add more seats and take away seats and whatnot. We've got a lot of information out on our YouTube channel that you'll be able to find as well about managing team plans and whatnot. Cool. Well, that was really, I just want to give more of a high level of interactive because I know I kind of glossed over a lot of things in the last meeting. So just really wanted to kind of hammer home more of the idea of how you can take your interactives and take them next step further. Really after Q&A at this point, I want to kind of just pivot more and do a broad overview of what Mighty is. So this will be a little bit of a shorter meetup in order for us to kind of close out the year as we're wrapping up all these fun features into the next year. Before I roll into a demo, does anyone have any questions for me? Either feel free to put them in the chat as you've been, or feel free to even unmute and we can just kind of chat about them live.
Pinkster, I definitely think you should talk through global styles in the demo part, especially since Kelly and Rena are new. They probably
Cool.
haven't seen that.
Yeah, yeah, I can do that. All right. Well, before some of you head out, before I do the product demo, I do want to talk about our next meetup that we're going to do. That's going to be January 27th, not 7th, January 27th, 2026. So excited to see you guys next year as we do our next meetup. And without further ado, let me go and jump into a product demo. Thanks, everyone. For those sticking around and are not super familiar with Mighty at this point, I want to just kind of give a high-level overview of what Mighty is. First, just starting with, it's a Chrome extension that we've got available in the Google Chrome store, so you can get access to that either in your Google Chrome browser or in your Edge browser. We also have a desktop app that you can install on either Windows or Mac, and all of that's available. We can find that either on our marketing site or when you first sign up for a Mighty account. Once you sign up for the Mighty account, like I'd mentioned, there's a 30-day trial that you can get access to. It's free. There's no credit card or anything needed. Just plug in and start developing out all sorts of fun things. As I had mentioned, from a high level, we've got blocks that we've introduced. We also have other features that I'll get into, and those are called power-ups and block mods. And those are just all the different ways that we go about enhancing a Rise course. And once you're starting to get more and more familiar with how Mighty functions within Rise, I want to give you a couple of resources, and I've mentioned a few of those. One is just our Mighty community in general. There's a lot of great places or a lot of great questions that you may have. And here's kind of a fun post about seeing Mighty transitions in the world. So if you ever have any questions on anything in regards to Mighty, this is your great place to go. I'm there all the time answering questions. We've also got tons of people in the community who are super familiar with Mighty. So if you want to see how others are using Mighty, here's a great spot to go. As I also had mentioned, inside of MC, there's all sorts of different fun spaces from challenges. to we've got this code catalog area. And the code catalog area is where people are either posting their own fun interactives that they've made, or we've got what's called code snippets, which I'll get into in a little bit. And so it's just really a community-driven library full of just like mighty goodies. And we've even got some like fun things that we had done back in Halloween with like bats that fly across the screen, to then even more like practical use cases about adjusting different block types inside of Rise or adding new interactives into your Rise experience. So all sorts of fun things that you'll find inside of the code catalog. And we've also got a cool space for just showing off inspiration. This is the really good Rise courses. Um, so lots of different places that you can get access to some inspiration there. The other place that I want to call out is we do have a help center that walks through really all of the Mighty functionality that you've got available to you. Anything from just various guides to frequently asked questions, and then just a high level overview of the different types of features that we introduce into Rise with the power ups and the blocks and the mods. And then also we've got a YouTube channel. And so you can get access to all sorts of videos that we've created, fun little how-to videos, basically taking some of our features and stitching them together and showing off fun little use cases, to different tutorials just on all the different features that we've got, as well as we've got some other fun playlists where one of our designers went through and like recreated the Olipop website. And this is where you'll also find all of our other pre-recorded meetups. So you've got access to all those as well. So great content. Just, as you're starting to dip your toe into what Mighty is, I would definitely suggest getting down to the assistant and jumping in through a lot of these links here. Once you've got access to Mighty, you're going to start to see within Rise, these magenta icons start to show up everywhere. And really, anytime you're seeing that magenta, that's the Mighty magenta. And that just indicates this is where Mighty's kind of like put their magic wand all over. So anything from just with rich text, being able to take over the rich text experience and choose different fonts. We have also got the ability to kind of show off a code view if you want to add like specific CSS classes or other styles. And then being able to jump into a course or a lesson here. And like I had mentioned, we've got all sorts of different blocks. You've also got all these little indications over here on the left-hand side that just showcase off that there's different mods that exist for all sorts of Rise blocks. So that's what we would call more of a block mod. So as an example, if we go down to like, let's say the notes block, and we wanted to really customize how that note block feels, you could see over here on the right-hand side, this is where a lot of our settings will exist. And in here, you can override the background color. You can make that be whatever color you want. You'll also notice with our color palette, we've got a recently used. We also have like a really cool color picker. So we could grab really any color on your screen. So I could actually grab the color from this thumbnail down here. You could change border radius for this specific block, and you could change the icon size. You could reposition the icon to be more centered aligned. So there's like lots of fun experiences to be able to take all the blocks in Rise that you know and love and just add on extra configurations that you don't normally have access to. So that's what we call our Mighty Mods. And let me jump forward to more of like an after lesson. So now you can kind of start to get the experience of Mighty being able to go through and kind of clean up a before lesson and what that introduces. So like right here as an example, this is one of our blocks. This is our transition block where you can actually take background images, paste over a transition over top of it, and it will automatically take the image that you've got and apply that. So let me go ahead and do that here. We'll drop in this transition. And you can see as soon as we drop in the transition, it just like builds it out and has that image bleed over. And then you can also take advantage of all of these presets that we've made. So if you wanted to be able to kind of get different looks and feels as you have different transitions throughout your course, you could do that. You could also even just within this custom settings, kind of go gangbusters and build out all sorts of fun little custom designs that you want to really kind of match your look and feel of your course. So that's a transition block, super powerful. Not only can you build out transitions and images, but you can also transition into just more solid colored blocks, which we've got right here. Just drop in the transition, again, it automatically takes the color from the block above and below and builds out those transitions for you. It also has the ability to build out more of what we would call like a line divider. So typically you just have like kind of a line like up above where you've got just kind of like a gray thin line for a divider. But with the Mighty Block transition, you can build out your own custom transition line and change the thickness and the color and kind of really get that style look and feel that you're going for. So transition block's a lot of fun. We also have within the block library other fun blocks like this, where you can do a little bit like a before and after with our image comparison block. And then we also have another fun block, and that is our reflection block. So you can ask actually open-ended questions to the learner, and you can ask multiple open-ended questions throughout your course, and then even have like a cumulative download and map those even to a custom PDF that you've built. So lots of ways that you could really take advantage of different interactions within your Rise course, and especially with the reflection block, being able to ask open-ended questions, collect that in SCORM using our SCORM settings, and then deliver a fun PDF download at the end of your course. Other blocks that we've built, I've talked about the interactive HTML block quite a bit at the beginning of this. We've also got a multiple choice block. That one is very similar to like a knowledge check block, except it's got a little bit different spin on some of the options in there. So being able to do randomizations of answers and being able to report that out to SCORM 2004 or an XAPI statement. So lots of great things that you can do there. This block here is our reverse hotspot block. So as you'll see, it's kind of like a labeled graphic, except you don't see all of those indications on the image itself, but instead it's more intended for the learner to click on this image in order to find what you're looking for. So great for like a product training course, or if you're wanting to in general just like highlight certain things. In this example here, this is like what makes a collaborative environment. So things like coffee or snacks or a whiteboard. So those would be able to allow your learner to just like take a lot of the content that they've been learning and then apply that. So really fun experience that you can do there. And then to go above really the blocks and the mods that we've talked about, that's where we get into more of like a power up situation. So with the power ups, this is where you'd be able to get access to some of our custom code. This is where you could actually create some JavaScript or CSS. And we've got snippets again available inside of the Maestro community. But in here is where you can get really custom into some things that you want to do. So if you want to take advantage of some CSS and apply some general CSS to a bunch of different blocks, or you could animate blocks in differently, or you could drop confetti when you push a button, like all sorts of fun experiences like that with the snippets. And then I know, Sydney, you wanted also have me show a sneak peek of the global styles. So let me do that. Um, that's another one of our power ups. Actually, let me. uh, Actually, I maybe have to hold off on the global styles one. Go back to my last video, November. Sorry, I remembered that there's a thing that I had broken in doing some local development that I don't want to show off yet. So
No problem.
we'll
We
show
need to
that off
revisit that.
next time, the global styles thing.
It'll
Um,
it'll probably be launched the next time we meet. So that'll be
yes,
great.
that would be the plan. Trying to think of what else. High level. I guess worth talking about. So Mighty is a Chrome extension. Really, it's just for you as an author while you're authoring your courses. As soon as you are ready to publish this out to Review 360 or to your LMS, once you publish it, everything's built into that zip file that you're normally used to getting. So the way that that would look is when you publish it for web, you're going to see a different publishing screen. This is the Mighty publishing screen. We essentially allow Rise to publish your course. Once the course is published, then we take that file and then we add in all of the Mighty enhancements into it. And then that's ultimately what you get. So the zip files that you're normally used to uploading either to your LMS or if you host them on like a web server, it's the exact same file that you would normally use. It's just got all the Fun Mighty enhancements to it. So even publishing to Review 360, you would be able to do that as well. Once you publish it to Review 360, all that Mighty functionality will work, and no one really needs any Mighty Chrome extension or anything like that. Really, it's only the author during the authoring experience. So cool. I don't know if I have anything else from a high level demo. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our team. We're also happy to jump on and do demos with team members, or different teams if you wanted to do more of like a individualized demo. So happy to do that as well. Anything else that anyone has? I could certainly dive into.
Kelly and Rena, if you end up having additional questions, let us know. Like I said, you're welcome to email at mighty@meisterlearning.com or go ahead and join Maestro Community and you can direct message John or myself.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining today. Again, this was a shorter meetup. Excited to wrap up the year and get back at it in 2026.
Thanks, everyone. Talk to you later.
Thanks.
Have a great rest of your year.
Awesome.
Thanks. Y'all
Bye.
too. Bye.